And we're back for regularly scheduled uploads. That's the promise. I'm trying to do a couple hours every day around 3 p.m. ish. Once I get working, it's going to be a little after 3 p.m., probably in the afternoon. Trying to get as much consistency as I can. That's my commitment. So continue to support the channel, and I'll be able to maintain that, which would be awesome. So far, I kind of like streaming, so we'll keep going with it for now until I get totally sick of it, which I'm sure will happen any day. Just kidding. I'm going to play Inside today because Jacksepticeye recently did a replay of it. It's one of his favorite games. I have done an in-depth analysis on it myself, and I've played it several times now, so I'm not an expert at it, like gameplay-wise, but I do know pretty much every little detail in it from front to back. There's still a little few mysteries left that I haven't totally been able to solve, but that is what it is. Oh, I forgot to change the stream title. Et Oiblik. One moment, please. Keep changing OBS, but it doesn't work very well, so I want to change it officially. Alright. Oh, they make me use the arrow keys? But that sucks. Okay, probably fine. I could bust out a controller for this, but I think it works with the arrow keys, right? Yeah, so Jacksepticeye's favorite part about this game was the mood. And you can quickly see why. I mean, we've got some mist. Which creates a light beam that you can see. Things that are just perfectly placed in light sources. It's funny that Jacksepticeye loves games so much because he's more of a cinematography guy, I feel. He's kind of said so himself. He likes movies. He was asking for examples of movies that were like this game. And I did have one that came to mind. But I forgot what it was, so maybe I'll think of that later. Oh, wait. The goons. This is definitely not a blind playthrough. Oh, I run or anything like that? I don't remember the controls. I usually don't play with mouse and keyboard, so. The funny thing is that this kind of atmosphere is very much where I used to grow up in Washington, where it's like wet and dim everywhere. Oh, run! That was a bad idea. Okay, so this is gonna be an analysis run. This is not blind. I've seen it a million times. I'm not gonna pretend like it is. And it's mostly just for my pet theories. First couple things to notice is that these pods here are attached to the trees, so those are obviously important clues for later. They also appear to be working, so they're modern technology, whereas there's some technology that's become dilapidated and it's no longer in use. But here's an example of something that isn't. I'm just gonna come right out with my theory for what these pods are, even though I don't think I have any super direct evidence for this particular one. I have more evidence for some of my theories later, but my theory is that these pods are for growing the brainless drones. So basically they're they're trying to make these drones that they've genetically modified to take less energy and to go into hibernation mode so they can sit around, and that they have special brains that make them so they can still function their bodies when they have the whatever mind controls them in it, but otherwise they don't think on their own. So they're just basically growing brain dead labor. That's my theory. We'll see if there's enough evidence to support that, but I think it fits very strongly with the rest of the stuff we see in the game. And I don't think there's a good explanation for what these pods do otherwise. So there you go. That's theory number one. I don't know why these guys are trying to catch you. I'm going to come out with all the theories. Jacksepticeye finally also came to this conclusion, and I believe he is correct in that the blob at the end of the game is you, and you're controlling the boy using some sort of like wireless connection. Because obviously this boy is not like a real boy. There's plenty of evidence for that. One, he jumps off of like giant cliffs with no hesitation. No kid would do that. There's just no way. Even like a highly trained jihadist assassin kid or whatever you want would be like, have a little bit of hesitation when it comes to jumping off giant cliffs into water. Because you do that a couple times in the game, right? It's just like, obviously, I feel like he's a brain control puppet. Even Jacksepticeye came to this conclusion. He's by no means like very close on the details and the analysis. He doesn't claim to be either. He's mostly in the game for the mood as well. But yeah. So those are my two main theories so far. Eager to see if there's more evidence that I missed. So I'm supposed to hide here, I guess. Sorry, that's probably gross. Okay, let's get out of here. So that's to teach us not to get caught by them. So yeah, they're sucking some bio life force from the trees that they use to craft these genetic guys, I'm thinking. Pretty sure the pods house the drone bodies. It's an old fridge here. You see a lot of old tech, like the fridges that have been abandoned. So there used to be an old world, which is our world right now, that they've abandoned for some new type of world order, or whatever you want to call it. The world works differently now, but it still uses technology. Got to figure out how to interact with this, but I'm pretty sure you have to move this fridge, right? Oh, you're making me look up the controls, eh? Grab is right. No. Right control. That is bullshit. All else being equal, I'd rather make grab spacebar or something. Or left control. Spacebar is actually, left control would have been better, but that's good. Simple controls, at least. Here. The doggos. Yeah, so clearly they have hunting parties out. They're looking for either people like me or something else. And I just happen to be here. It's kind of unclear. The beginning of the game kind of sets you up with this false premise that, like, they're just hunting down kids. Like, it's some sort of, like... I just watched The Pianist, which is by the infamous and unfortunate and kind of scummy Roman Polanski, which I did not know when I started watching it, but it is directed by him. But it's written by Ronald something. Yeah, but it's about Jewish people escaping the Nazi concentration camps. This game gives off the vibe of that, but it really isn't. It really is not about that at the end of the day, because you are actually as I think there's a ton of evidence for, you are a drone being controlled by the brain thing. There's more evidence for it than the stuff I've presented, but we'll probably see that as we play through. I'll just show it to you when I get to it. I'm not really sure what these dog dudes are doing out here. Trying to kill my ass. Oh god. Hesitated. I regret everything. Miss me, kiss me. Yeah, you suck at your job. Hurts, don't it? Wait, I want to go back, because I'm here to like look at all the details and clues, right? So I don't want to... This isn't like a blind playthrough. So they actually have search parties out, which is interesting, because that kind of implies that there's a perimeter, so that there's something important in the center of it, and they're expecting trouble. Other than that, I don't think I can glean any like hard facts, because it's like setting up a perimeter is quite difficult. It takes a lot of resources, so they wouldn't do it just willy-nilly. And they also couldn't get lucky, because you know, we're out in the wilderness. There's a lot of ground to cover, I'm sure. Cool forest area. Very Washington-esque, Vancouver-esque. There's a lot of sci-fi movies that, like, premises that they make you think, which I would recommend to Jacksepticeye. I think World on a Wire is an excellent film to watch if you like a movie that really makes you think and is about a dystopian future. Any Fassbender films, like World on a Wire, excellent choices. Obviously, The Matrix was inspired from World on a Wire. So, like, if you like The Matrix and you like this, watch Fassbender films. I love them. They're some of my favorites. I feel like I'm dead. If I walk out in the headlights, they will notice me, right? Logic says. Guess I gotta go for it. Bye-bye. Eat my shorts. Oh, I tried to jump, but... Delicious murder. I tried to jump. It was too late. I thought I was jumping over the ledge, not a stick. I didn't see a stick there. Shit. Ooh, this is a tough scene. See, they're pretty well equipped. Oh, I got guns. Guns. Dogs, uwu. Not so uwu. Ooh, damn, they scary though. Do we have to keep running here, or? Let's just go underwater for a bit. Mythbusters did test it. If you shoot through water, your bullets basically explode, so this is pretty effective. It's interesting that they're out here. It's almost like they're looking for something and they've had a warning. Maybe someone, like, tipped me off to them earlier. Okay, now we're in kind of, like, Act 2, sort of, if you can say there's acts in here. It's like another part. This is like the farm section, which is pretty different. It's like distinct. We see a lot of dead animals. It's kind of a hint. So these farms have been abandoned pretty recently. Keep that in mind, I guess, going forward. Damn, look at this mist and rain. Yo, Septiceye, you just go to Washington. Actually, it's probably like this in Ireland. What am I talking about? Well, corn's more of an American thing, right? I don't know. This is a cornfield. I'm not an agricultural guy. I mean, are most gamers agricultural people? It's probably fairly rare. So yeah, I think around some area in the game that's kind of nearby here, there's like a secret hatch you can find, and it shows a pod where if you unplug it, then your character goes limp. So that is the major piece of evidence that suggests that you're a drone. You're definitely a drone, because when you get unplugged, you go limp. Like, a normal person doesn't do that. Unless you're really foolish and you somehow think that normal people could behave like that, which doesn't make any sense. So you're clearly some sort of drone. And then knowing that you're a drone, because you find that secret pod room, and just watch the YouTube secret ending thing to see it yourself if you want to see it. Knowing that you're a drone from that piece of evidence, we can then start to guess who's controlling you. There's a couple of options. One that I don't really subscribe to is that you're a foreign agent from some outside government or organization, and you're sent in here for some sort of like spy purpose. That's on the table. I think it's just simpler to say that the blob had the most motivation to control you since it gained the most from the game. So the motive of the blob is high, and it's also we don't have to suppose any extra foreign agencies that exist that we don't see any evidence for. So, you know, Occam's razor, simplest theory, I assume you're controlled by the blob. I think that's very strong evidence, personally. That's why I think that theory is the main one. Jacksepticeye finally came to that conclusion at the end of his previous episode. So I'm just like, congrats. Because I think that's just tons of evidence that's the case. Okay, we've got... Whoa, stop running, dude. Yeah, my freaking keyboard's acting up. Is it out of batteries? I can unplug the mouse because I'm not using it right now. Let's use the touchpad. There we go. And we do want to go back, so I want to see if there's anything I missed. Okay, so we've got a bunch of dead animals. They were left to die fairly recently. I assume they were, like, slaughtered and or executed, depending on how you see it. The reason for it is a little unclear. Other than that, it looks like a normal farm. The spotlight's a little strange, but that could just be for game lighting effects more than anything. Maybe it's not really meant to be a clue, but could be. We do see pigs that are infected with the little worm things later, so we can assume that maybe there's disease involved, but we don't want to jump to conclusions without a lot of evidence. So if that's the case, then they're afraid of it spreading, so they just exterminate the whole farm, which could make sense. But yeah, the little worm things would hint that they're genetic experiments they use to create the drone people. They've done like other experiments, and I didn't mean to do that. Other experiments in the past, and like those worm things are part of that. There. Vilde Merkley. Very mysterious. You press up. Come inside. I love how I have to use these chickens. These chicks. What a chick magnet. Sorry, had to be done. The joke had to be made. We have to attract them into here, which is... I thought I was going to kill them. I'm like, this is so wrong, man. You can't do this. Yeah, I guess we have to lure them all the way to the right, probably. Jump over them. Ah. Huh? Huh? How do you turn it on? Oh. Damn, you have to go pretty far then. These chicks are slow, yeah. Loop. Loop for day. Run for it. Yeah, that's a very whimsical, funny puzzle. I love it. Doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's cute. It's weird that they add these cute little things at the beginning. They are trying to trick you into believing that the kid is like just some sort of kid on an adventure. But it becomes pretty clear later that's obviously not the case. And again, the main evidence is you can unplug yourself, so you're not a normal kid. You're being controlled by something. This is a cool shot. So I guess this is why Jacksepticeye loves this game, because he uses really good framing of scenes for emotional effect with basically fairly simple props. Like, I don't think this is some high-end AAA grade stuff. It's just got a really good filter on it. This is like TF2 style graphics, really, with like really good like rain filters and things like that, or whatever you call it on it. Meat right off the bone. Pigs are kind of cute. I don't know. Some people don't like pigs. I think they're cute. I'm not a big fan of eating pig, though. I just don't like the flavor. No other reason, really. It's like alright, but not my first choice. I'm a beef guy. Some people are like vegetarians, and I'm just like, you know, I don't have any problem with it. I think it's kind of cool, but the way I see it is that if everybody was vegetarians, you basically have to do what you see here on the farms and kill all the animals, because like nobody's gonna keep this many animals as pets, so they'd end up dying anyways, sort of. Like you could just have like animals that live as like zoo creatures, I guess, but there'd be a lot less of them. I 100% am on board with like humane. And a lot of farms are not humane, and I understand that. And for people who do it as a protest or a form of trying to say like, well, I want influence in how companies make their products, 100% agree with that. I think that's an excellent motivation. So, plus they're creating petri dish grown meat soon, so you don't even have to do the whole farming thing eventually. I'd eat it. Hopefully it's tasty. If it's gross, maybe I wouldn't eat it, but I assume it's like as good as any meat. Probably better because it's grown in petri dish. You can make it like very tender, I assume, or something like that. Climb, boy. Oh, there's one of those worms. Oh, yikes! Oh, you bitch! So, yeah, these guys, these dead pigs have mind control worms in them. Oh, it actually can kill you? Come on. I guess we're a very small, fragile boy. I guess we're supposed to run for it. Don't mess around. I was trying to have fun with it. Oh. Oh, you have to do the old rodeo thing over it. Or something. That makes sense. Okay, so I'm assuming that they killed them because they were getting infected, perhaps? There's other options, though. I'll have to think about that in a second. These worm things are clearly, to me... Let's go find some place where we can chill out for a second. Okay, I think we have to... nope. Oh, right, tree net. Right in the face. I know what I have to do here. It's just I lack the skill to do it. Oh, I think you have to jump off of his back, or maybe you don't even need him. You do need him for sure. Do I just bring him further along? Oh. It's just that easy. Give me your gross nastiness. Okay. So this... Is it gonna die, or is it actually still alive? I'm kind of curious. Oh, it does stay alive. But it's, like, emaciated? I can't tell if it's, like, a dead pig that it reanimated, or if it was, like, a pig that was almost on the verge of death and had, like... So, this to me, and if you disagree, then you're a dipshit. No, I'm just kidding. It's, like, it's not hard set in stone. But I quite strongly believe that these worm things are how they animate the brain dead creatures. Oh, still kicking. Oh, that's interesting. It actually moves around a bit. I assume they're made in a lab for the purposes of biotech. So I'm thinking the old world, our world, that's based on machinery and stuff, kind of goes kaputs. Capitalism fails, yeah, because it was inevitably going to do that eventually. It's super unstable. For a variety of reasons, and I think there's more reasons every day. Read Cannibal Capitalism. I saw someone go on Sam Cedar's show, she was talking about that. Nancy something. And she talks about all the different ways that capitalism is failing that Marx didn't quite get to, because things have changed a little bit. But I assume on this old world failed because of something like that. Maybe there's some war involved, We'll see weapons and signs of weapon experimentation later on. Mostly defensive, actually, because I've got the blasting wave, which keeps things away from you. It's actually not used for attacking. It's just kind of interesting. I assume it's a missile defense technique or some shit like that. It's very cool. I mean, that would be a great weapon. Like, I am fine if you make a weapon like that. It is purely... Well, the thing is, people can say a weapon is defensive, but technically the reason, like, the US wants the laser defense thing is so that they could potentially nuke anyone without repercussion, thus ending the, like, MAD era, you know, mutually assured destruction era. Can I move you? Move your butt. I think there's a little dude back there, eh? Interesting. So there's some old farmers here. I wonder how they got left behind. Fairly merkily. Yeah, that's not super clear. This pig is much like the farmer dude, where maybe the pig was dead, and then the worm goes into them and reanimates them. But if the worm leaves them, then they kind of have, like, their false life still continues on for a bit, but they don't really have any will of their own, as you can see here. They kind of just... They're sort of stupefied, or whatever. These guys, I would say, obviously have the little worm thing in them, right? Seems to be the case. Or some sort of mind control device. How do we get them all to... Oh, we want to grab here, and then move over. And they all grab. The funny thing is, though, is that the pigs were killed in an organized fashion. So it's not as if the farmers got infected and then the pigs just died randomly, because they actually were trying to dispose of them. Not sure. It's a little mysterious. I feel like these worm things do have something to do with it, but... I don't know. Another interesting feature here is that... Can we go back, or is that not an option? Yeah, we can go outside of it. So this barn has been abandoned for a long time. Unlike the pigs that were killed recently, this is a much, like, older section. So I feel like... I feel like this was just a farm they were using as an experiment. So there's a theme of experimentation that runs through this game. Because I don't think this is like a place that's normally heavily habitated. Is that a word? There's another worm over there in the ground. See that? So they are sort of just, the worms are sort of just living around, and they're kind of like a problem, right? I feel like this has something that you could do with the mind control shit. I feel like the worms that control the pigs maybe aren't the same as the ones that control the humans. And they're just trying to create pigs so they can mass produce with biotech easily. Maybe that's the case. Hard to say. Now this headpiece here in this abandoned place. This makes me think that this is an older section, so maybe it's not related to the farm. Because this place is very much destroyed. The farm previously has working machinery. It's essentially in working condition. This area is not. So I'm going to assume this is actually a separate area that was used for something a long time ago, but it's no longer really functioning here. What are these things? Are these like... These kind of look like furnaces for disposing of bodies, but maybe I'm an idiot. I don't know much about machinery, to be fair. It's connected to something like a generator. Interesting. It looks like a generator, and it's used for burning like coal or something like that then. It's curious. Don't know much else about that though. This place hasn't been used in a while. It's like abandoned. So this is like old world tech. Like this must have been abandoned at least a couple decades ago. Like it's pretty destroyed, right? So we're in a section that's a little bit older, so we have to keep that in mind. It probably provides power for the town, right? We see power lines coming out from here. So, but it's like old. You also see old fridges and stuff. This is like the old world tech. Great skybox. I'm sure Jacksepticeye oozed over it for a while, so I won't belabor it too much, but it is beautiful. They are so needly. Gorgeous. Okay, this. So they're gathering up drones from the area. They don't really make it clear as to, like, how these drones came about. Are these simply dead people? Are they recently taken over? I feel like it's pretty heavily implied that the infectious worms can get into people normally. They probably don't infect me because I'm already infected. They don't really compete with each other, plus it wouldn't do anything. And that's probably what happened to these guys. Maybe this was some sort of a disaster and they're just gathering everybody up. It's hard to say. I'm going to rest on the conclusion of that these people were infected by the worms, whether on accident or purpose, I'm not really sure. It feels like there was some attempt to kind of like contain the epidemic because they have the pigs piled up and they're clearly trying to dispose of them in orderly manner, but then they sort of give up halfway. Makes me think that they were trying to control the situation, and maybe these people were the few people that didn't quite get out and got infected. Perhaps. And now they're gathering them up for whatever purpose. Maybe they're going to use them, or maybe they're just going to get rid of them. Not really too sure about that. It's very interesting, though. I would love to do, like, more analysis on some of this stuff, because there's still mysteries in this game that I don't know much about. Like, I have my hardcore theories about certain aspects that I've already talked about, but I don't know everything, and that's what makes me want to do a replay. Because it's super curious, right? Like, I want to know more about it. It's a cool little sci-fi world. It makes you think. Eh. This is more old world area. Oh, me sinuses. Love that. Another thing Jacksepticeye probably oozed over. And I understand why. It's pretty cool. Okay. An abandoned area, but this time we've got pods that currently aren't plugged in but are probably being stored. We also have cages that are also being stored. So this warehouse, let's see what the condition of the warehouse is. It's leaking a bit. Not as bad condition as the last warehouse. So this was used at some point for storing these pods, which in my theory they're used for growing drone people, and these cages which are used for containing drone people that have been infected. Don't know. I wish we got a little more information on the pods, because I heavily believe they're for growing drone people, but that may not actually be the case. But they look human-sized, right? Get on the puzzle. This. I don't know if that's the right height, but... Oh, yeah. Oh, I know what we have to do. It's all coming back to me now. I said as I pissed into the wind. Is that about right, maybe? Let's give it a shot. Laos prove it. Prove it. Prove it. Let's try it. They are verd et Borsuk. I think that's wrong, but it's my best shot. It's worth a shot. Interesting. Someone put this safe out here. Well, it could have just decayed around the safe. I died. Excellent. I think we have to run backwards, I guess. Do it. Didn't know that was going to happen, but these controls are weird, so I'm a little slow on the draw. How the fuck did we get back? Go down here. There's some other supplies that were stored here, but I assume they're older. Pipes and such. It's interesting. I don't see any projects that would be about laying pipelines, so I can only assume that's older than the pods, but we see something over here, yes. It's probably a secret. Let's check it out though. Yeah, so these are the things you collect to get the secret ending, which again reveals that you're infected drone. I can only assume that these pods are the wireless devices that are used to control drones at a distance, which is like some sort of advanced technology. So if we have a worm inside us, this allows us to wirelessly connect with it over longer distances. I guess it's like a booster relay for the signal or something like that. Hard to say, but something of that nature. Right? Ikisant. You failed me for the last time. This is the humming noise. Wait, there's like a light up there. Oh, there's switches. Gotcha. Yeah, I understand what you have to do. This is like a cut and measure kind of puzzle or whatever you'd call it. So, even them out. Alt for let. All too easy. Okay, let's take a look at this area. This is underground transportation. Storage. This place is pretty abandoned, so this stuff hasn't been used in a while. This must have been in the earlier stages of this new world order kind of thing, society's development, because they're way past that now. They've left that there for a while. Oh, they're marching. So these are some drone people. They're probably dead like the pigs. I'm assuming they died at some point before they get infected, because those pigs on the ground look like they're... Like, there was a worm trying to infect a fully dead pig, and it wasn't doing it because it was too decayed. But other than that, the other pig was probably dead and then got reinvigorated by the worm. I think what happened is that there was a disease. This is my running theory. I don't have any hard evidence for it, but I think there was a regular disease that killed the pigs. Like swine flu for the pigs. It was really nasty. No one could cure it. and maybe infected some of the people and then they died, or they died of starvation. And so then maybe the society used the worms to reanimate their bodies because it's like free labor, right? And like they're okay with that in the future. Like to them, it's not like a squeamish thing or something like that. There could be people who argue that they forced them to get infected, but I don't really see any evidence for that. There's no armed struggle. I feel like if that were the case, there'd be like some signs of warfare. There aren't any signs of warfare, so I feel like some disaster happened to this town, and then these guys came in. Maybe they dumped the worms on it on purpose to infect these bodies to get labor out of them. This also explains the theory of the perimeter. And maybe the perimeter is simply to like prevent people from meddling and or like drones from escaping or something like that. Kind of interesting. They have working semi-trucks, so they still have energy and stuff like that. Whoa. Oh, missed it. Oh, there's a secret there. I don't think there's much to see in the secrets, so I don't really care. Like, you just have to get them all and you get a secret ending, but... gross. Let's just grab the pipe and jump back then. That's probably how you get it, right? We get a better look here. So we've got a monitoring person. Kind of like the guy that was chasing us. He's got a very minimalistic outfit. He's like kind of like obviously like a working dude. And they're just making sure that they head into whatever processing facility thing they're going to be doing with that later. There's a tape recorder here. That's very interesting. Tape recorder is very mysterious. That's like almost some spy equipment shit. But no way to really tell just from that. Maybe I'll have to go see all those secret locations. Oh yeah, from the scale of destruction that we see in this town, we know that probably there is a huge population dip at some point. Why there is a population dip, we don't know. Again, I posit the fall of capitalism combined with maybe some kind of warfare or some amount of warfare. And yeah. So that kind of supports the theory I was just saying, which is that these people died here of natural causes because they're still part of the old world order. And then these people are just like, well, the whole town's dead, so we'll come in and rescue the few people who are left, and we'll infect the rest of the bodies for free labor. Because that's the thing that I disagree with Jacksepticeye. Jacksepticeye is firmly entrenched, and he just assumes. Like, he assumed this boy was like a hero character, when in fact you're just working for the blob, which he did change his mind later and said that was probably likely. He does that at the end of his previous video. So he had assumed that, and I think he also assumes that this is a dystopia. Well, I disagree. I don't see any evidence for that. The only evidence is that you're getting shot at by those guys, but you're not a hero. You're kind of more like a villainous protagonist in some sense. I mean, unless if you side with the blob, that's fair, but you're definitely working against the main group of people. I think we're looking at a utopia, where I think we're looking at like a capitalist society that fell, and these guys provided some sort of answer after the world was crumbling that allowed the world to go on and provide, food and security and like labor for people. by reusing corpses from the destroyed old world, because there's probably all these bodies lying around. And here's the thing, people will be like, oh, that's awful. I'm like, well, there's no sign that they killed any of these people. Like, they're just picking up the pieces. Let's put it in a phrase. And getting them to do, like, stuff. Which is, you know, it's kind of ghoulish, but it's not necessarily evil in of itself. It's, like, no different from organ donating, right? Some people have a problem with donating their organs, and I get it, but it's not, people don't universally say it's unethical or anything weird like that. Obviously, people consider it generally good. Yeah, so we definitely see evidence here that there is a huge population drop. Nobody abandons a city like this unless there's just nobody to live in it, right? It's like the Rust Belt area in the USA, right? So that's hard evidence for population drop. There's a failure in the system at some point. We don't really see too many signs of war here, but we don't really know what the reasoning is. So they have a security camera. That's kind of interesting. I wonder what the security camera is about. This is interesting to me. They have a lot of visual security, but they have no enemies besides myself. So have they just had previous attempts for the blob creatures to try to awaken themselves or give themselves agency or control over their own bodies? And that's why they're paranoid? Or is this simply for, like, accounting purposes, so they can make sure that the drones are behaving as the biotech is supposed to make them behave? There's no glitches. That second option seems more likely, because the odds of someone making it past all this shit is obviously low, because, like, you barely manage to do it yourself when you're playing, so I can't imagine it's a constant threat. So I feel like these, and like, here's the thing, they obviously, this new society didn't kill these people because they've got pistols and dogs. You don't kill this amount of people with pistols and dogs. It's not possible. You need way more than that. You need like World War II level tech at least, right? Because that's how they did it in World War II. You need like full automatic weapons, artillery, and shit like that. You need that shit. You'll never take on a whole city's worth of population. So these people, they must have died of natural causes, diseases, or at worst, maybe a bioweapon. But we're not really sure. I don't think the worms cannot be the bioweapon, because I was kind of positing that later, but now that I think about it, the worms can't be a bioweapon because they're too big and obvious. They would never infect anyone, like, secretly. How would you get accidentally infected by a worm? So my better theory is that there was a problem at the farm with a pig disease and people were starving, maybe, or like they got infected by that other disease and then people threw the worms on top of them. But that doesn't, it still leaves open the possibility that they used a bioweapon other disease to kill them. I will admit, we're not too sure. So there's two possibilities there. I'm just gonna let that ride until we see more evidence. But they definitely didn't shoot them all. There's no way. They don't really have the gear for that. Plus, there'd be way more signs of, like, the city having, like, bullet holes and artillery in it, holes and stuff in it, right? Can we move this ladder? Oh, here's another tape recorder. Interesting. Okay, so I was gonna say maybe the tape recorder had something to do with the wireless connectors as, like, a spy agency thing. But I say no to that now because we see another tape recorder here. Apparently they're just all over the place for no reason. So I think that theory's out the window. I think it's just a coincidence that's in the same room. So you do see them in random areas. If anything, they look like the New World Order tech or whatever. These are interesting. So these spike any moving drone things. Okay, so we saw from the pig that when the biotech worms go into their brains, that they can sometimes act aggressive. Apparently, it's quite rare because you don't see it very often. But I assume for that reason that it can glitch out, that these things exist to ensure that any of the drone things that run rampant don't like, you know, go around cause trouble. Ooh, and I'm fucked. No. No. Pikachu, use Thornton Shock. Baruch Thornton Shock. Guess we have to open it first, eh? That's fine. It's kind of interesting. So they've got like AI robots here too, because these things obviously run on their own, right? I wonder if they shoot only drones. How would they know the difference? Not too sure. Actually, I assume that you have that regular people have like a tag, which tells the turret not to shoot that as a moving target, because that'd be the easiest way to do it. So if that's the case, then it's not used for shooting regular people, because it's too easy to fake a tag, right? And then these things will be useless. So it's not for warfare purposes. It's literally to ensure that these zombie drones don't like go around and do stuff. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. Toikte. Is that how you say press? Press it. Toikte. I think so. You got the MGS low beat in the background. That's cool. The seagull's just eating something. I don't like to brag too much, but I will say that when it comes to the analysis of this game, I'm probably the best on the internet. So if that interests you at all, I've definitely gone through a lot of it with a fine-tooth comb. I haven't gone through everything. Maybe in this playthrough I'll finally take a good look at everything, but I love dystopian science fiction, and this is like kind of very cyberpunk in some ways. It's like biopunk maybe. Ooh. We're accidentally in the mix now, so now we gotta blend in. Tension rises. This is an abandoned school. Kind of an interesting theme going on here. Ooh, I'm very bad at this because I'm distracted and looking at everything. So I'm in here to look at all the art and shit, right? So I can only assume this camera is not operated by a drone and there's an actual physical person watching me. He probably sees that we're like a kid, we're a little bit different, so there's just kind of just checking that out. Alright, now this part of the game, Jacksepticeye very astutely notices that there are masks on the students taking notes. Now, these students taking notes, if I am not mistaken, is a reference to Brave New World. At the beginning of Brave New World, they're showing off the biotech that they use to make the different groups of people, because nobody has normal children in the future. And they have students who are going through the process and taking notes. So it could be a reference to Brave New World. If it is a reference to Brave New World, that tells us that we might be dealing with a utopia, because Brave New World's like a dystopia, but it's also like a future where generally like it's just so nice that it's kind of like creepy to us kind of deal, one could argue. It's like it is a dystopia as well, but it's not like 1984 where it's like purposely like, you know, like the boot mashing on a human face forever kind of deal where it's like really bad. Suffering for its own sake seems to be the goal. I jumped. Okay. Fortunately, it's hard for me to see exactly what's going on here. I wish I could get like a screenshot or whatever. So, now this is a key part in the game because you don't see regular people very often. Okay. I assume, because we were talking about how you'd have an identifier to prevent the laser guns from shooting you. I assume that's what the masks are. That's like your safety badge, right? Obviously, it's like nobody has faces in the future, so these guys are wearing masks, and that's kind of just like a poetic theme that they add to the game, which Jacksepticeye does point out as a poetic theme. I think he's right about that as well. But maybe like practical terms, it's also used to protect you from the zappy guns, perhaps. That's an extra safety precaution. So we've got a manager dude on the right taking notes on a clipboard. He is much like the other employees that we've noticed earlier. He's obviously working. Yeah. Uh, those are the same guys that also chased us down because I guess they see us as being like a threat. Um, who knows what? Like maybe the blob aliens frequently try to infiltrate them. I'm not sure exactly why they're so on edge about it. It almost to me would seem like they're trying to prevent stuff from escaping, but they do manage to catch me coming in too, which is kind of strange. I assume they're there to prevent these guys from escaping, right? Um, and they just have pistols because I don't know. It's very interesting though. Maybe there's dissonance as well that can use the mind control to like mess with the society, but you don't really see any rebellious groups. And the fact that you don't see any revolutionary type characters makes me again kind of hints that we're maybe in a utopia. Because only the blob seems to have any complaints about it, according to my theory. And I think the blob theory is very strong. So besides the guy on the right, we've got what seems to me to be families. Am I wrong? Like we've got some kids. They seem to be hanging around. I would say it's not a nuclear family, but probably like an extended family type deal. Someone's literally has a baby, so if that's not strong enough evidence that it's a family, then if anyone disagrees with me, I have to call them a dipshit at that point. So these are definitely families. We've literally has someone with a baby that must be a family of some sort. They're just here, I assume, for educational purposes or as a field trip, just seeing how it works. Maybe some of them will be working in this like new jobs they have in biotech eventually, and they're just curious or whatever. It doesn't really look like they're taking notes. It's more of just like, oh, this is how it works. It's like a tour. Sorry, I'm probably gonna try to die on purpose a few times here because I do. This area is so key to understanding this world because it's like a short section. So I do want to look at it a bit. There's something at the bottom left of the woman on the left there. Or is that a woman? Oops. I don't know what that is. They all have like flip-flops and shit too, interestingly. It's kind of funny. So they're definitely out here for leisure. No one runs around with flip-flops like doing serious work. They also have all like modern clothes, like Adidas track suits and shit. Very casual. It looks like a couple are standing really close together, so they're like in a fairly loving relationship. To me, it looks like I see one big extended family. One family on the left, father, mother, daughter, son, a couple that has no children, an extended family on the right, and like a woman with a child on the right. And honestly, they seem like they're pretty happy, chill. They're not. Here's the thing. Jacksepticeye keeps claiming this is a dystopia where people are being controlled. I just say no. I mean, yeah, their outfits are pretty bland, but they have individuality. It's not like it's an Orwellian, like they all have to dress in jumpsuits or anything like that. That's not the case. These people look pretty chill, and honestly, they look kind of happy to me. Like they're having a good time, you know. Americans expect people having a good time have to constantly be riotous assholes, but if you go to a country like Norway or Denmark, which is the happiest countries in the world, people there aren't like smiling with big grins on their face all the time. They're just relaxed and having a good day. These people look like they're having a good time. Like this mother's out here with her baby and she's just kind of like soaking it in, and I don't know, they look like they're fine. So I don't another mark against dystopia. Like, you don't see any like unhappy people in here. I mean, the blob creature, yes, but like these drones are people. I would seems to me that they were already dead. So this is just like recycling, which is, we might find that morally icky, but there's not really anything wrong with it. It's like just good recycling, you know? Like I obviously would find it kind of uncool as a person in my society, but the people in this society are probably like, well, at least they're still doing some good. Right. It's like that's kind of just like a cultural judgment thing. It's not really actually inherently unethical or anything like that. Right? We can all agree on that. I love how they don't bat an eye that I got pulled out. So yeah, they're not looking for, that is evidence right there of one very important detail. Those laser things are not looking for enemies of the state or whatever you call the society. They're not looking for criminals or people like me. They're simply looking for defects, right? Which means that those guys that shot me earlier also are probably not looking for criminals or like, you know, rogue agents. I'll call myself a rogue agent. That makes the most sense. They're just looking for defects. And they're probably surprised that I can run so fast and I actually have intelligence. I'm sure that's a bit of a shock to them. Because these people don't bat an eye. I got shot with a laser thing. So there must be defects along this line fairly regularly. Which means, you know, they're not enemies. They're just errors in the biotech process, right? That seems pretty clear, I think. Oops. Okay, I think we're about to have gathered. This part's gonna, like, I will stop as much as I need to. Because this section is key to understanding the world. For sure. It's the only time you see regular people, so. Okay, so apparently all these worker dudes have masks. They all have uniforms. So it's a fairly casual uniform. It's like turtleneck, regular pants, boots, practical, but there's like, they're expected to wear uniforms because they're working as part of some sort of agency or something like that. They're just sort of chill. Oh, this guy's even got his kid, so it's a bring your kid to work day situation. See, it's not a fucking dystopia. I heavily disagree with this. Where's the evidence? Where's the evidence? Evidence. There's no evidence. There's no evidence that there's any dystopian shit going on. It's like a pre-assumption that American brain rot minds have to the point where it's like, it is like a heavy bias. It's like, dude, it's like for the most part, these people look like they're having relatively good lives. These are dead bodies, I can assume, so that's creepy, but it's not necessarily evil. If they went and killed the farmers, that would be pretty evil, so. But we don't really see any evidence of like hyper militaristic culture, cultural superiority, or like fascism or anything here. So it's hard to imagine that this society of like, they seem like fairly normal people with some individuality, would go out and murder other people just to collect their bodies. I don't see the evidence for that. It just seems really unlikely. I will say, as a counterpoint to that, because I'm arguing only against myself here, because honestly, no one else analyzes this game as much as I do. That's just how it is. I'm going to brag a little bit, just because I feel like it's the truth. Give myself some credit. The people that they are having this line here are dressed very differently. I think they're dressed very differently than the people to the left. Let's get ourselves killed and look again, because I want to double check that. Are they dressed very differently? Or are these like the same people essentially? No, actually they're dressed pretty similar. I take that back. They're definitely not too different. So, yeah, they've got the same flip-flops on a lot of them. The same kind of skirts on some of them. They're close enough, yeah. So these are the same people. So they're not like a different culture either. Which is like good evidence that this is not, they're just recycling their own people. So it's not even about like cultural genocide or warfare or anything like that. So it's just American brain rot. Americans see societies where there isn't class conflict and people just get along and have normal lives, and they think that's evil. Because Americans are so brainwashed, they think your society must make you suffer. It must create artificial drama. The economy has to be set up like a casino. Everything in life has to be a fight to even get your mac and cheese for the day, and to have an ounce of dignity and self-esteem. Capitalists and Americans are so obsessed by this brain rot, and apparently anyone in the West, because the Irish too. Sorry, Jacksepticeye, but you have a bias when you play this game. I say that only because I love your content. I hope you watch this one day, and like, because I know he's a huge fan of this game, and I hope it persuades you that I don't see any dystopian themes here. I think that's just a strongly put in place bias, the same way people are biased into thinking that the kid's just some sort of rogue hero and he's trying to like blend in and he's not a drone. That's just your preconceptions about how a story should operate. But the dystopian thing, there's no evidence. I mean, where is it? I don't see it. Where are the oppressed people? You know, like, who the fuck is the unhappy victim in this situation? I'm just putting it as bluntly as possible to hopefully make a good case, right? And I hope that doesn't come across as too rude. I mean, like, I only care because I think this game is a great game, and I would love for Jacksepticeye to see this video. He never will, but I would love for Jacksepticeye to see this video, and maybe he like picks a few points from it, and yeah, it helps him enjoy the game even more. It hopefully encourages him to do more sci-fi, because I haven't even read all that's out there or watched all the movies. There's probably a lot of really good sci-fi out there. Another one of my favorites is Colossus 2000. It's about a supercomputer that takes over the world. It's supposed to stop nukes. It's a good one. I hope Jacksepticeye gets into watching like more sci-fi movies. I think he'd really enjoy them. There's some good ones from the 70s. I think the 70s was the best era, honestly. Oh. I'm very bad at this, but I'm too busy looking at shit. So yeah, we've got this kid. He's with the working father. Like, look, are these people who are like unhappy? This kid's like with his father. He's like, I think he's even like holding his arm or something. It's like, oh, they're like a cute family. Like, fuck off. Like, where's the dystopian evidence? Like, this isn't like a Hitler youth camp. It's like they're just chilling. That's just xenophobia, I think. Honestly. It's like you look at another culture and it's like, oh, they must. Ah! Okay, now I gotta shut up and actually play or I'll never get past this. This was a key part, so I don't mind spending some more time. It's not gonna be this slow all the time. But for this section, yeah, we're gonna have to slow down a bit. I'm really excited to have played this game again. I am a huge fan of Inside, so this is quite good. I think that is maybe a ball down at their feet, which is another kind of piece of evidence that this is not a dystopia. As I mean, maybe they value playing. I think that might just be a ball, like a Toy Story type ball. Okay, I actually should play now because I think we've seen everything here. I should have played with the controller, but if we take a break halfway through, I might bust out the controller eventually. Oh. I'm bad at fitting in. Shock Pikachu face. Breaking news. Tasty Zillionaire is bad at fitting in. Wow, who would have known? I have what some might call an abrasive personality, or at least a big personality. Hashtag sorry not sorry. I try to tone it down a little bit. I actually don't talk about politics unless other people bring it up in like normal society, because, but I do. Time to go. Bye-bye. Oh shit, I think I did that wrong. Oh, okay, never mind. Ooh, hopefully I bought myself enough time. Ah, you suck. Oh, it's got nipples. Nice touch. A female dog. You bitch! This is where they teach you that you can use the mind control things. So obviously we see these mind control helmets and we think, okay, they use them to control people for labor, right? Something like that. There's a collection of drones over there to the right while we were running. We didn't get a good look at that. What are we supposed to do here? Actually not too sure about that. There's a gate, obviously. I think they were trying to open that, right? Still barking. My dogs are barking. It's a opposing force reference. Might be from a movie, I don't know. It could be from that as well. It's very interesting. I don't really know how we're gonna get this gate open. Oh, maybe we just have to bring the dude through? Oh. Okay. Never mind, this is way easier than I thought it was. I was overthinking it. So this is obviously some new tech plastered onto the old tech. It's kind of like the same visual theme of like the Combine and Half-Life. They have like new tech plastered onto everything. But it is generally how it works. Like if you look in Europe, you see like, you know, people would put in the time when electricity was becoming a big thing, they would just put electricity in old style houses as like a new feature. And they would slap it onto the old shit. So this is pretty standard. Yeah, the people hovering around, like, watching you are not in some dystopian nightmare. Because, yeah, they have individuality. Like, they've got unique outfits and stuff, and they look like they're chilling. I don't know. Like, it's not perfect 100% evidence, but I think it's pretty strong evidence. And honestly, it looks like they're in fairly loving relationships. They're standing close to each other. They're, like, clearly they trust each other. They're not having a bad time, and they're also not enslaving, if you want to call it enslaving. They're not using the dead bodies of other cultures or ethnicities. They are dressed the same. Because I was going to put a counterpoint to that, but like honestly, they do look like the same type of people. So the same culture. So it's like it's not like a cultural supremacy thing either. They're just literally recycling them. And I guess they're there for educational purposes. They're like, oh, this is weird, but you know, it's like good for everybody. So. Okay, so now what do we do? I'm not too sure. This guy opens the door. I think we need to use him to brain control some other guy before we proceed, right? Because we're gonna need another piece. Maybe? I don't know. This is mostly puzzle shit. There isn't a lot to like take in. Here it is. Kept you waiting, didn't I? Just came out of a box. Did you get that? Let's take this, Yep. What if we do this? Yeah. Oh! I had the right idea. I just missed a step. A crucial step, but just one step. That's actually, this is a good puzzle. It's not hard, it just makes you, it's like the Portal type puzzles where it makes you think a little differently. For sure. Very, very cool puzzle. Oh, forgot the thing. Why was he in a box? It's kind of funny. It's hilarious. Okay, so we drop, and we go back up again. Then we do this whole rigmarole. Perfect. They are so let. It's so easy. Okay, here's another interesting section. We see engineering type, construction worker type dudes or whatever. I can't tell, is that a child or another like drone watcher dude with the dogs? like patrol force guy. I can't see that there. He looks a little shorter than the other guy, so I can't really tell, unfortunately. Yeah, I can't really say if he's like a worker or a kid. I'm not gonna make a call on that, although I'd really love to know. If I had higher resolution, I could probably tell, but... Oh, that guy's quite surprised. They're freaking out. Okay, so... let's move this over. They're like, the machinery's glitching. Somebody call. Somebody call security. Call the management. Call the president. Now, see, this is another key piece of evidence. No normal-ass child. I guess you can see the water down there. Yeah, you know what? Never mind. Still, it's like, that's pretty scary. But I guess you can technically see the water, so... like, it is a hint to the player as well. Oh, wait, he's bringing something out. Whoa, let's look at this shit. Yo. V-Smite, show me. I want to see what this is. Oh, they're gonna zap me. Bro, they're gonna zap me. Zap me, bitch. I want them to do it because I want to see this, right? I think this is like one of those turret guns, right? So they're setting it up. They've got a security manager with a tie. They turn this on. You gonna zap me? Do it. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, that really gets my rocks off. Okay, so I believe that guy next to the construction worker dude is probably a manager. And so they just came here and sort of problem solved the situation. They're like, oh, there's a guy up there messing with it. So the managers apparently are aware that there are like drones being used as intelligent tools. And that is suspicious because they react pretty quickly. Although, again, they're not prepared with, like, armies of security dudes. This threat isn't constant enough that they have, like... because clearly they could have everyone armed with submachine guns if it was, like, a very real threat. But... because they weren't really prepared. They had to, like, improvise a method to get rid of me, right? So they pulled out a gun on wheels to use it to, like, tag me. Because, yeah, it's like, they're not expecting you to have any sort of intelligence. In fact, they're probably like, whoa, it's weird that one of the brainless dudes still had enough intelligence in him to operate this machine. That's kind of strange, right? They're definitely not expecting it. So, anyways. Let's go watch that guy runs away. Yeah, he is the guy with the tie. He tells him to do something, and then that guy runs off to get the equipment. The other guy hides. Or he's looking, yeah, he's like, whoa, what the hell? Yeah, they're very surprised by this, and they're intrigued. We're going to watch the wheel out, and I'm going to drop, because I just want to see it a little bit more here. This is a very interesting part, for sure. And I have guests over, so we might cut the stream a little short. I like to do 3 hours generally, but I might do a bonus stream. We had some New Year's partying, so I like skipped a bit there, which is fine, I think, but... yeah, it's gonna come out. I love how they have the detail where they come out, but it takes them a minute. The manager dude's like helping him. It's kind of nice because they show the manager dudes actually helping the worker, so it's kind of like there's not too much class divide. Like they see themselves as generally the same allies. Oh. Fucked it up. That's okay, we get a closer look at everything, so... now I actually gotta get through this part. Let's put myself a little further over here so we've got more time in the opening to get through this gap. It's all done. I don't know how to fall, to be honest. Okay, hopefully we don't get... oh, there's like an old VHS tape here. Oh, and there's a box. Let's go to the surface first, get some air. And whatever this box is, I want in on this action. What is this? That's a pallet. Ah, the good old pallet. I used to work in a lot of warehouses, so pallets bring me back. The olden days. Let's see like something down. can't grab it. That's a big pallet, or you're a small kid, one of the two. Yeah, I was so good at moving the pallets around, I could like toss them around by hand after a while. Much to the annoyance of some of my managers. They're like, you can't do that. I'm like, well, it's easier. I'm in shape. What do you want? That's the thing about our society nowadays. They actually don't want people displaying any ability or skill. That's how bureaucratic Canada is. It's freaking awful. It's like fit in, don't perform your job too well. That's the mentality in Canada. It's really weird. I guess it's just as bad in the US. It's like you have to work way too hard for no reason to make your employer money. Like your value is only how much surplus you can generate. But in Canada, it's like you just have to fit in. You're like supposed to be like no soul. Like the worst part about Western Canada is that we literally have no culture. If you've played Outer Worlds, that is the real culture of Western Canada, which is basically hate the unemployed, keep the unemployment at a certain level, and work your ass off for the bureaucracies and try to get like a good inside job using nepotism where you can like work close to, in the Western Canada, it's close to the sources of oil or some other good job like that. And then basically shit on everyone else who doesn't have that job. And constantly brag about how much money you make and how much work you do. And maybe you become a small business owner, which makes you like a rotten little fucking parasite. That's the Canadian culture. And the Calgary Stampede shit, that's all fake. Nobody knows who owns the Calgary Stampede. And it's like not real Canadian culture. It's just some stupid event someone made up to increase tourism and make money. That's what it fucking is. Like, if you look at pictures of old Canadians, like back in the day, they don't wear like the white cowboy hat and shit. It's got nothing to do with like actual Canadian culture. Like, here's the biggest evidence that Western Canada has zero culture at all, is that we don't have warm hats. Like in Russia, people wear like the fur hats or whatever, and they've got like the big coat as like the traditional look that nobody wears anymore, but it is a traditional look. In Canada, nobody wears that. Like, we don't have our, like in Norway, they've got like their Helly Hansen, I believe, is the brand that's like warm clothing. In Canada, we only recently came out with Canada Goose, and it's super expensive and no one can afford it. And like nobody wears like winter hats except for just beanies, basically. And even then, it's not super popular to wear a beanie, like, because everyone just wears what, you know, they try to drive around their car. Like, we have no culture. That's the thing. We're literally just like a frontier town owned by monopolies. It's just terrible. It's fucking disgusting. I get so tired of it. The Calgary Stampede's literally funded by either someone in America or maybe someone from Asia, perhaps, or a group of people. I mean, I'm sure there's tons of investors, but it's just like, it's like fake culture designed to draw people in, right? It's like, some people, like Canada has a lot of open space, and you know, it's got the Rocky Mountains. It's beautiful landscape, but like they need a good tourist reasons for people to come in, and it's like that's all it is. It's just a money making scheme. I'd be surprised if there was any historical precedent for the Calgary Stampede, and maybe there is some out there. So I don't know, but it seems pretty fake to me. It's like hokey. If there is like a precedent, then it's become so cartoonified nowadays. Like, there's no authenticity to it. That's kind of more my opinion, because I don't really know the hard facts about like how it came about, but I find it very suspicious at any rate. Like, how can jeans and like, you know, long sleeve shirt, like denim shirt, be Canadian culture? It's too fucking cold for people to wear that most of the time. Canadian culture would be like warm ass jackets. You're gonna have a warm hat most of the time. It's fucking cold up here, man. You get summer for like a small part of the year. You're not wearing traditional cowboy gear like that looks like it's from Texas. It's like, fuck off. We know that's fake. That can't possibly be real culture. Like, our culture is dead here. We're nothing but little frontier town drones. That's my lower half. I'm sorry. I get mad about it because people like think it's a real thing. Anyways, it's probably of no interest to any Americans, so I should probably shut up. Wait, what does this do? lost the plot here. Was I supposed to do that? I'm a dumbass. My dumbass. Oh, you have to get over there in time? How long have we been going for? I do have guests over, so I don't want to like leave them hanging. It's been an hour and a half. I think it's a good place to stop for now. But we will pick this up. This game's not too long, so it should only take a few sessions to beat. But yeah, I'm very much enjoying this. I'm ranting a lot, so, you know, it is what it is. But hopefully some people enjoy that. Hopefully some people, I assume, enjoy the analysis. I'm a little heavy-handed with it, but that's because I wanna really see all the details and kind of think about what makes sense with them for sure. I find it super interesting. Yeah, so thanks for watching. I'll see you tomorrow. I'm trying to stream more consistently. That's my commitment. It'll be from 3 p.m. to 5-ish p.m. kind of, maybe even earlier. Yeah, hope you have a good rest of your day. Bye-bye.